Hello, my name is Robert. I'm talking about grabbing an audience attention by what they enjoy. So, as many parents probably likely know, the reading level between younger generations have severely dropped, and it's slowly showing as they get older into the high school level that their reading level is not the same as everyone else. I believe that college students, this year's college students, since they grew up between the year of technology slowly growing and the old slowly falling off, it shows that there is a possible way to prove that this is happening. I'm presenting a question of can certain reading genres keep attention towards college students? Being as if a student reads a historical book, are they likely to continue reading historical books or will they find something else? Other researchers have done something similar where they've recorded that the percentage of reading has fallen off, such as Lauren and Shaw, who found that more than half of students, 56%, spend less than an hour a day reading. And I'm also a fault of this where I don't read as much, even though I know I should, since it's a great way to learn. Along with Bones and his fellow coworkers who discovered that in 1992, 61% of adults reported reading a book for pleasure over the last 12 months, but this dropped to 49% by 2022. And I think this sort of shows that reading is no longer a pick up a book and just read it to read it. It's slowly becoming I might as well read a book every once in a while. Something that I found interesting was that in Mark in 2023 found out that when people are engaged in challenging to a certain task, they are more willing to fulfill it as a completion goal. So, current study. The research question is how does similar genres affect people's interests as a can this genre be more popular that people would likely finish reading it than the other genre as it is? My hypothesis is to ask is students who find a genre will my hypothesis is students who find a genre will report to be interested in similar genres than those who don't have a preferred genre. This just means if I read a book that is mainly historical, I will only like historical books than if I was to pick up like multiple others kind of kind of reading style where I will find one that I would like and stick with it. My data methods is a qualitative method where I sampled 24 college students from Texas Tech University, both from the tennis club that is ran here at Tech and a and most of my Spanish class fellow students classmates that are well in Spanish with me. I collected this through Google Docs for a survey. My dependent variable is to keep the attention from reading. My independent variable is the topic of the story. My data analysis is mainly using a pie chart that will show which genres most people read and which genres they likely didn't read. I use Excel to collect all this information, and an example would just be comparing which genre keeps people's attention longer than others. Okay, off to the results. As you can see, I collected survey answers from both male and female, but where this sort of differs would be the 70% of my results coming from male and about 30% coming from female, where 24 were men and 10 were female. The average age between these the average age would be 20-year-olds for men and 21-year-olds for women. As I talked about, my independent variable is 85% reported a genre that kept them interested. My dependent variable, 74% reported students kept reading. The top chart shows which percentage of interests they had in specific genres, such as action, historical, horror, fantasy, mystery, romance, and domestic, which is just a person's personal life kind of story. Women's, on the other hand, they found domestic a lot more interesting compared to historical. Action, horror, fantasy, mystery, and romance was among the most semi-popular, but romance and fantasy were considered more popular among females. The Among the results that I collected, only one student found um, historical genres more interesting. 5%, five, four, 14% of students found romance as their favorite genre. 12% found mystery as their favorite genre. 18 found fantasy as their favorite genre. 15% for horror. 9% for action, and 3% for domestic. For the for all of this, above table shows how many the above table shows how many finished the genre in each gender, along with those who hadn't finished reading a genre but likes the story aspect of it. As such, I found out that out of the 24 men that I surveyed, only 17 would finish a genre that they liked, and only seven out of the 10 women would finish a genre that they liked. But something that I found not surprising, but a little surprising would be the horror genres were more favored by men and would be considered more finished, whereas the romance was more finished by both genders, which is something that I was surprised for. I was expecting fantasy to be more higher. Compared to the 7 genres that I picked, historical and the domestic stories were not favorable by both genders. Either just some didn't like the idea of reading a historical book compared to watching it, and domestic is a more interesting as watching compared to reading. The Most men were likely to not keep to a genre, as shown by not readers men, showing that they jump between genres as much as there no being a specific genre that they wouldn't keep reading. But females were considered a different choice, where only a few of them chose not to stick to a genre and finish reading the stories. The graph indicates of which the graph indicates the chart above in a format of recognizing who preferred what for their reading genres. The below chart just is a summary of the big chart, where 71% of men finished the story, 29% chose not to finish. Women finished about 70%, and 30% chose not to finish a specific genre. So, what's my conclusion? My finding supporting hypothesis: men showed to jump around between genres than women who chose to stick with a genre. My limitations of this was more men answers were collected. There were smaller responses, and there was less readers, as I suspected when I chose the Texas Tech Tennis Club, considering that most of them are athletic people who only read when they have available time when they're not studying. I think for a future research that I would like to do, I think I would like to collect more information from people who are more associated in the library, such as Barnes and Nobles or the Texas Tech Library would be a great place to ask people, since they are more experienced in different books and the genres that are associated with them. I would like to ask the older population. It could possibly allow to show which genres are more preferred back in the day than the newer genres that we have now. And then lastly, I would like to use books students read in school. Some popular books that I read was like Holes, Pachinko, um, Over the Guard. No, um, Over the no. It was a book about a black and gray city. I can't remember the name at the moment, but it was a great story that many of the students in my middle school and high school read, and that's about it. Thank you.